Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji. Uh, my name is Amarjeet Nanda, and I am here to present to you uh, Autobiography for Yogi, which was written by Paramahansa Yogananda. In day 2, we are going to go through certain chapters of this book, which are equally enlightening as the previous readings that we had gone together. And I'd like to begin this conversation by saying that we have a lot of things that are common with Guruji, and we have a lot of things that Guruji wants us to know, to read, to understand, and so that we are on the right spiritual path. So, in this journey together, we will go through Guruji's recommended book, which is Autobiography of a Yogi. In Hindi, this book is also termed as, also called as Yogi Kathamrit. So, whichever language suits your needs and your taste, do select the book and just start reading. So, having said that, today we are going to start a chapter which is chapter number 3, which is called The Saint with Two Bodies. Okay, there are a lot of interesting coincidences which are there with what Guruji has told us to his Guru Vachan as we know it. So I'd like to take that opportunity to read this book along with you, and of course, do read it at your own convenient pace. And slow reading, absorbing what is there in this book is a better way to understand rather than doing a fast reading just for the purpose of finishing the book. So ये बोलते हुए हम लोग आज का जर्नी हमारा स्टार्ट करेंगे. चैप्टर नंबर 3, द सेंट विथ टू बॉडीज. Father, if I promise to return home without coercion, may I take a sightseeing trip to Banaras? My keen love of travel was seldom hindered by father. He permitted me, even as a mere boy, to visit many cities and pilgrimage spots. Usually, one or more of my friends accompanied me. We would travel comfortably on first class passes provided by father. His position as a railroad official was fully satisfactory to the nomads in the family. Father promised to give my request due consideration. The next day he summoned me and held out a round trip pass from Bareilly to Banaras, a number of rupee notes and 2 letters. I have a business matter to propose to a Banaras friend, Kedarnath Babu. Unfortunately, I have lost his address, but I believe you will be able to get this letter to him through our common friend, Swami Pranabananda. Is a very important name and is mentioned here, which we will read now further. The Swami, my brother disciple, has attained an exalted spiritual status. You will benefit by his company. This second note will serve you as an introduction. Father's eyes twinkled as he added, Mind, no more flights from home. I set forth with the zest of my 12 years, through though time has never dimmed my delight in new scenes and strange faces. Reaching Banaras, I proceeded immediately to the Swami's residence. The front door was open. I made my way to a long hall-like room on the second floor. A rather stout man, wearing only a loincloth, was seated in lotus posture in a slightly raised platform. His head and unwrinkled face were clean shaven. A beatific smile played about his lips. To dispel my thought that I had intruded, he greeted me as an old friend. Baba Anand, it means bliss to my dear one. His welcome was given heartily in a childlike voice. I knelt and touched his feet. Are you Swami Pranabananda? He nodded. Are you Bhagavati's son? His words were out before I had time to get father's letter from my pocket. In astonishment, I handed him note of introduction, which now seemed superfluous. Of course, I will locate Kedarnath Babu for you. The saint again surprised me by his clairvoyance. He glanced at the letter and made a few affectionate references to my parent. You know, I was enjoying 2 pensions. One is by the recommendation of your father, for whom I once worked in the railroad office. The other is by the recommendation of my heavenly Father, for whom I have conscientiously finished my earthly duties in life. I found this remark very obscure. What kind of pension, sir, do you receive from the Heavenly Father? Does he drop money in your lap? He laughed. I meant I mean a position of fathomless peace, a reward for many years of deep meditation. I never crave money now. My new material needs are amply provided for. Later, you will understand the significance of a second pension. Abruptly terminating our conversation, the saint became gravely motionless. A sphinx like air enveloped him. At first, his eyes sparkled as if observing something of interest, then grew dull. I felt abashed at his approaching. He had not yet told me how I could meet father's friend. A trifle restlessly, I looked about me in the bare room, empty except for us two. My idle gaze took in his wooden sandals lying under the platform seat. Little sir, don't get worried. The man you wish to see will be with you in half an hour. The yogi was reading my mind, a fear not too difficult at the moment. Again, he fell into unscrutable silence. My watch informed me that 30 minutes had elapsed. The Swami aroused himself. I think Kedarnath Babu is nearing the door. I heard somebody coming up the stairs. An amazed incomprehension arose suddenly. My thoughts raced in confusion. How is it possible that father's friend had been summoned to this place without the help of a messenger? The Swami broke. The Swami has spoken to no one but myself since my arrival. Abruptly, I quit the room and descended the steps. Halfway down, I met a thin, fair skinned man of medium height. He appeared to be in a hurry. Are you Kedarnath Babu? Excitement colored my face. Yes. Are you not Bhagavati's son who has been waiting here to meet me? He smiled in friendly fashion. Sir, how do you happen to come here? I felt baffled resentment over his inexplicable presence. Everything is mysterious today. Less than half hour ago, I had just finished my bath in the Ganges when Swami Pranabananda approached me. I have no idea how he knew I was there at that time. Bhagavati's son is waiting for you in my apartment, he said. Will you come with me? I gladly agreed. As we proceeded hand in hand, the Swami in his wooden sandals was strangely able to outpace me, though I wore those stout walking shoes. How long will it take you? Will it take you to reach my place? Pranamananda ji suddenly halted to ask this question. About half an hour. I have something else to do at present. He gave me an enigmatical glance. I must leave you behind. You can join me in my house where Bhagavati's son and I will be waiting for you. Before I could remonstrate, he dashed swiftly past me and disappeared in the crowd. I walked here as fast as possible. This explanation only increased my bewilderment. I inquired how long had I known the Swami. We met a few times last year, but not recently. I was very glad to see him again today in the bathing ghat. I cannot believe my ears. Am I losing my mind? Did you meet him in a vision, or did you actually see him, touch his hand, and hear the sound of his feet? I don't know what you are driving at. He flushed angrily. I am not lying to you. Can't you understand the only through the Swami could I have known you were waiting at this place for me? Why that man, Swami Pranabananda, has not left my sight a moment since I came here about an hour ago. I blurted out the whole story. His eyes opened widely, as are we living in this material age or are we dreaming? I never expected to witness such a miracle in my life. I thought this Swami was just an extraordinary man, and now I find he can materialize an extra body and work through it. Together we entered the saint's room. So, Guruji, while he was in Chola, he has performed exactly similar kind of miracles. And as an enlightened soul, as Mahashiv, Guruji was all, had, there are enormous satsangs, which are there on the internet, wherein it has been told that Guruji was able to be there in two places at the same time. The Sangha did not know this, but then later on they realized that Guruji was there in Delhi and at the same time he was there in Jalandhar, and many other things like that. So I think these are traits, and these are simplistic ways that a person can be in different places who have attained that kind of yogic competence. So in this case, in this book, I am referencing to Swami Paramahansa ji, who was able to do this in this particular chapter. So, as the visitor bowed before him, the saint, no, 1 minute. Look at those very sandals he was wearing at the ghat. Kedarnath Babu whispered. He was clad only in a loincloth, just as I see him now. As the visitor bowed before him, the saint turned to me with a quizzical smile. Why are you stupefied at all this? The subtle unity of the phenomenal world is not hidden from true yogis. I instantly see and converse with my disciples in distant Calcutta, exactly what we just now discussed. They can similarly transcend at will every obstacle of gross matter. It was probably in an effort to stir spiritual ardor in my young breast that the Swami had condescended to tell me his powers of astral radio and vision. But instead of enthusiasm, I experienced only an awe stricken fear, inasmuch as I was destined to undertake my divine search through one particular Guru, Shri Yukteswar. इनके बारे में हम लोग बाद में डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे. ओके, whom I had not yet met. Okay, I felt no inclination to accept Pranabananda as my teacher. I glanced at him doubtfully, wondering if it were he or his counterpart before me. The master sought to banish my disetiquette by bestowing a soul awakening gaze and by some inspiring words about his Guru. Lahiri Mahasaya was the greatest yogi I ever knew. He knew divinity itself in the form of flesh. If any disciple, I reflected, could materialize an extra fleshly form at will, what miracles indeed could be bared to his master. So here there is a picture which has been mentioned here, Swami Pranabananda, the saint with two bodies, an exalted disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya. It's a picture which is showing how he used to look. I will tell you how priceless is a guru's help. I used to meditate with another disciple for 8 hours every night. We had to work at the railroad office during the day. Finding difficulty in carrying on my clerical duties, I desired to devote my whole time to God. For 8 years, I persevered, meditating half the night. I had wonderful results. Tremendous spiritual perceptions illuminated my mind, but a little veil always remained between me and the infinite. Even with superhuman earnestness, I found the final irrevocable union to be denied me. One evening, I paid a visit to Lahiri Mahasaya and pleaded for his divine intercession. My importunities during the entire night. Angelic Guru, my spiritual anguish is such that I can no longer bear my life without meeting the great beloved face to face. What can I do that? What can I do? You must meditate more profoundly. I am appealing to thee, O God, my master. I see thee materialized before me in a physical body. Bless me that I may perceive thee in thine infinite form. Lahiri Mahasaya extended his hand in a benign gesture. You may go now and meditate. I have interceded for you with Brahma. Immeasurably uplifted, I returned to my home. In meditation that night, the burning goal of my life was achieved. Now I ceaselessly enjoy the spiritual pension. Never from that duty has the blissful Creator remained hidden from my eyes behind any screen of delusion. Pranabananda's face was suffused with divine light. The peace of another world entered my heart. All fear had fled. The saint made a further coincidence. Some months later, I returned to Lahiri Mahasaya and tried to thank him for his bestowal of the infinite gift. Then I mentioned another matter. Divine Guru, I can no longer work in the office. Please release me. Brahma keeps me continuously intoxicated. Apply for a pension from your company. What reason shall I give so early in my service? Say what you feel. The next day I made my application. The doctor inquired the grounds for my premature request. At first I find an overpowering sensation rising in my spine. It permeates my body, unfitting me for the performance of my duties. Without further questioning, the physician recommended me highly for a pension, which I soon received. I know the divine will of Lahiri Mahasaya has worked through the doctor and the railroad officials, including your father. Automatically, they obeyed the great Guru's spiritual connection and freed me for a life of unbroken communion with the Beloved. After this extraordinary revelation, Swami Paramananda retired into one of his long silences. As I was taking leave, touching his feet reverently, he gave me his blessing. Your life belongs to the path of renunciation and yoga. I shall see you again with your father later on. The years brought fulfillment to both these predictions. Kedarnath Babu walked by my side in the gathering darkness. I delivered father's letter, which my companion read under a street lamp. Your father suggests that I take a position in the Calcutta office of the railroad company. How pleasant to look forward to at least one of the pensions that Swami Paramananda enjoys. But it is impossible. I cannot leave Banaras. Alas, two bodies are not yet for me. So as I mentioned that in this book it's not at all a serious book. There are a lot of very tiny subtle funny remarks which have been made, that how our life is actually structured, and we start thinking logic behind everything and start questioning that why this has happened and all that thing. But in reality is not that simple once we read these kind of books by these enlightened souls. And here I'd like to also mention that Guruji used to give us divine guidance through meditation, and he communicates with us by saying that you do this, aisa kar, vaisa kar. And we are just we should just keep ourselves away from kintu parantu and start accepting these divine blessings and just do what our Guruji tells us. This same thing is mentioned in the last, was mentioned earlier, which I just read it out, wherein Swami Paramananda got a clear direction from his guru and applied for a pension on medical grounds, and then he went ahead and applied for it. It went through, and now he was at that moment he was living a life of persistent divine grace. So having said that, I'd like to continue my journey with you, which is basically chapter number 4. It is equally as interesting and enthralling as the previous chapters, so please do read at your own convenience. Chapter 4, My Uninterrupted Flight Toward the Himalayas. Okay. Leave your classroom on some trifling pretext and engage a hackney carriage. Stop in the lane where no one in my house can see you. These were my final instructions to Amar Mittar, a high school friend who planned to accompany me to the Himalayas. We had chosen the following day for our flight. Precautions were necessary as Ananta exercised a vigilant eye. Ananta meaning Yogananda ji's elder brother. Okay. So precautions were necessary as Ananta exercised a vigilant eye. Okay, he was determined to foil the plans of escape which he suspected were uppermost in my mind. The amulet, like a spiritual yeast, was silently at work within me. Amidst the Himalayan snows, I hoped to find the master whose face often appeared to me in visions. The family was now living in Calcutta, where father had been permanently transferred. Following the patriarchal Indian custom, Ananta had brought his bride to live in our home, now at 4 Gurpur Road. There in a small attic room, I engaged in daily meditations and prepared my mind for the divine search. The memorable morning arrived with inauspicious rain. Hearing the wheels of Amar's carriage in the road, I hastily tied together a blanket, a pair of sandals, Lahiri Mahasaya's picture, a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, a string of prayer beads, and 2 loincloths. This bundle I threw from my third storied window. I ran down the steps and passed my uncle, buying fish at the door. What is the excitement? His gaze roved suspiciously over my person. I gave him a non-committal smile and walked to the lane. Okay. Retrieving my bundle, I joined Amar with conspiratorial caution. We drove to Chandi Chowk, a merchandise center. For months we have been saving our tiffin money to buy English clothes. Knowing that my clever brother could easily play the part of a detective, we thought to outwit him by European garb. So on the way to the station, we stopped for my cousin Jotin Ghosh, whom I called Jotinda. He was a new convert, longing for a guru in the Himalayas. He donned the new suit we had in readiness, well camouflaged, we hoped. A deep elation possessed our hearts. All we need now are canvas shoes. I led my companions to a shop displaying rubber soled footwear. Articles of leather gotten only through the slaughter of animals must be absent on this holy trip. I halted on the street to remove the leather cover from my Bhagavad Gita and the leather straps from my English made Sola topi, which is nothing but a helmet. Okay. At the station, we bought tickets to Burdwan, where we planned to transfer for Hardwar in the Himalayan foothills. Okay, as soon as the train, like ourselves, was in flight, I gave utterance to a few of my glorious anticipations. Just imagine, I ejaculated. We shall be initiated by the masters and experience the trance of cosmic consciousness. Our flesh will be charged with such magnetism that wild animals of the Himalayas will come tamely near us. Tigers will no more than meek house cats waiting our caresses. This remark, picturing a prospect I considered entrancingly, both metaphorically and literally, brought an enthusiastic smile from Amar, but Jatinda averted his gaze, directing it through the window at this scampering landscape. Let the money be divided in three portions. Jatinda broke a long silence with this suggestion. Each of us should buy his own ticket at Burdwan, thus no one at the station will surmise that we are running away together. I unsuspectingly agreed. At dusk, our train stopped at Burdwan. Jatinda entered the ticket office, Amar and I on the platform. We waited 15 minutes, then made unavailing enquiries. Okay, searching in all directions, we shouted Jatinda's name with the urgency of fright, but he had faded into the dark, unknown surrounding the little station. I was completely unnerved, shocking to a peculiar numbness, that God could countenance this depressing episode. The romantic occasion of my first carefully planned flight after him was cruelly marred. Amar, we must return home. I was weeping like a child. Jatinda's callous departure is an ill omen. This trip is doomed to failure. Is this your love for the Lord? Can't you stand a little test of treacherous companion? Through Amar's suggestion of a divine test, my heart steadied itself. We refreshed ourselves with famous Burdwan sweetmeats, Sita Bhog, it's a food for the goddess, and Motichur, nuggets of sweet pearl. In a few hours, we entrained for Hardwar, a Bareilly via Bareilly. Changing stations at Mughal we discussed a vital matter as we waited on the platform. Amar, we may soon be closely questioned by railroad officials. I am not underrating my brother's ingenuity. No matter what the outcome, I will not speak untruth. All I ask of you, Mukunda, is to keep still. Don't laugh or grin while I am talking. At this moment, European station agent accosted me. He waved a telegram whose import I immediately grasped. Are you running away from home in anger? No. I was glad his choice of words permitted me to make emphatic reply. Not anger, but divinest melancholy was responsible, I knew, for my unconventional behavior. The official then returned to Amar. The duel of wits that followed hardly permitted me to maintain the counselled stoic gravity. Where is the third boy? The man injected a full ring of authority into his voice. Come on, speak the truth. Sir, I notice you are wearing eyeglasses. Can't you see that we are only two? Amar smiled impudently. I am not a magician. I can't conjure up a third companion. The official, noticeably disconcerted by this impertinence, sought a new field of attack. What is your name? I am called Thomas. I am the son of an English mother and a converted Christian Indian father. What is your father's name? I call him Thompson. By this time, my inward mirth had reached a zenith. I unceremoniously made for the train, whistling for departure. Amar followed with the official who was credulous and obliging enough to put us into a European compartment. It evidently pained him to think of two half English boys travelling in the section allotted to natives. After his polite exit, I lay back on the seat and laughed uncontrollably. My friend wore an expression of blithe satisfaction at having outwitted a veteran European official. So on the platform I had contrived to read the telegram from my brother. It went thus: three Bengali boys in English clothes running away from their home towards Haridwar via Mughal Sarai. Please detain them until my arrival. Ample reward for your services. Amar, I told you not to leave marked timetables in our home. My glance was reproachful. Brother must have found one there. My friend sheepishly acknowledged the thirst. We halted briefly in Bareilly, where Dwarka Prasad awaited us with a telegram from Ananta. My old friend tried valiantly to detain us. I convinced him that our flight had not been undertaken lightly. As on a previous occasion, Dwarka refused my invitation to set forth for the Himalayas. While our train stood at the station that night and I was half asleep, Amar was awakened by another questioning official. He too fell a victim to the hybrid charms of Thomas and Thompson. The train bore us triumphantly into a dawn arrival at Haridwar. The majestic mountains loomed invitingly in the distance. We dashed through the station and entered the freedom of city crowds. Our first act was to change into native costume, as Ananta had somehow penetrated our European disguise. A premonition of weight captured on my mind. Deeming it advisable to leave Haridwar at once, we bought tickets to proceed north to Rishikesh, a soil long hallowed by feet of many masters. I had already boarded the train while Amar lagged on the platform. He was brought to an abrupt halt by a shout from a policeman, and our unwelcome guardian escorted us to the station bungalow and took charge of our money. He explained courteously that it was his duty to hold us until my elder brother arrived. Learning that the train's destination had been the Himalayas, the officer related a strange story. I see you are crazy about saints. You'll never meet a greater man of God than the one I saw only yesterday. My brother officer and I first encountered him 5 days ago. We were patrolling by the Ganges on a sharp lookout for a certain murderer. Our instructions were to capture him alive or dead. He was known to be masquerading as a sadhu in order to rob pilgrims. A short way before us, we spied a figure which resembled the description of the criminal. He ignored our command to stop. We ran to overpower him. Approaching his back, I wielded my axe with tremendous force. The man's right arm was severed almost completely from his body. Without outcry or any glance at the ghastly wound, the stranger astonishingly continued his swift pace. As we moved in front of him, he spoke quietly. I am not the murderer you are seeking. I was deeply mortified to see I had injured the person of a divine looking sage. Prostrating myself at his feet, I implored his pardon and offered my turban cloth to staunch the heavy spots of blood. Son, this was just an understandable mistake on your part. The saint regarded me kindly. Run along and don't reproach yourself. The beloved mother is taking care of me. He pushed his dangling arm into its stump, and lo, it othered. The blood inexplicably ceased to flow. Come to me under yonder tree in 3 days, and you will find me fully healed. Thus, you will feel no remorse. Yesterday, my brother officer and I went eagerly to the designated spot. The sadhu was there and allowed us to examine his arm. It bore no scar or trace of hurt. I am going via Rishikesh to the Himalayan solitudes. He blessed us as he departed quickly. I feel that my life has been uplifted through his sanctity. The officer concluded with a pious ejaculation. His experience had obviously moved him beyond his usual depths. With an impressive gesture, he handed me a printed clipping about the miracle. In the usual garbled manner of the sensational type of newspaper, not missing, alas, even in India, the reporter's version was slightly exaggerated. It indicated that the sadhu has been almost decapitated. Amar and I lamented that we had missed the great yogi who could forgive his persecutor in such a Christ-like way. India, materially poor for the last 2 centuries, yet has an inexhaustible fund of divine wealth. Spiritual skyscrapers may occasionally be encountered by the wayside, even by worldly men like this policeman. We thanked the officer for relieving our tedium with his marvelous story. He was probably intimating that he was more fortunate than we had we met an illuminated saint without effort. Our earnest search had ended, not at the feet of a master, but in a coarse police station. So near the Himalayas, and yet in our captivity so far, I told Amar, I felt doubtly impelled to seek freedom. Let us slip away when opportunity offers. I can go on foot to holy Rishikesh. I smiled encouragingly, but my companion had turned pessimist as soon as the stalwart prop of our money had been taken from us. If we started a trek over such a dangerous jungle land, we should finish not in the city of saints but in the stomachs of tigers. Ananta and Amar's brother arrived there after 3 days. Amar greeted his relative with affectionate relief. I was unreconciled. Ananta got no more from me than a severe upbraiding. I understand how you feel, my brother spoke soothingly. All I ask of you is to accompany me to Banaras to meet a certain saint and go on to Calcutta to visit your grieving father for a few days. Then you can resume your search here for a master. So Amar entered the conversation at this point to disclaim any intention of returning to Hardwar with me. He was enjoying the familial warmth, but I knew I would never abandon the quest for my Guru. Our party entrained for Banaras. There I had a singular and instant response to my prayers. A clever scheme has been prearranged by Ananta. Before seeing me at Haridwar, he had stopped at Banaras to ask a certain scriptural authority to interview me later. Both the Pandit and his son had promised to undertake my discussion from the path of a sannyasi. Ananda took me to their home. The son, a young man of ebullient manner, greeted me in the courtyard. He engaged me in the lengthy philosophical discourse. Professing to have a clairvoyant knowledge of my future, he discountenanced my idea of being a monk. You will meet continual misfortune and be able to find God, and be unable to find God. If you insist on deserting your ordinary responsibilities, you cannot work out your past karma without worldly experiences. Krishna's immortal words rose to my lips in reply. Even he with the worst of karma, who ceaselessly meditates on me, quickly loses the effects of his past bad actions. Becoming a high souled being, he soon attains perennial peace. Arjuna, know this for certain. The devotee who puts his trust in me never perishes. Exactly what Guruji has already told us. जो नाम जपता है उसके सारे बुरे कर्म ऐसे ही कट जाते हैं. आप गुरुजी सदा ओम नमः शिवाय, गुरुजी सदा सहाय, गुरुजी का मंत्र सहाय, मंत्र जाप, ये सब अगर आप करेंगे, गुरुजी का नाम जपेंगे, गुरुजी के बारे में अच्छी अच्छी बातें करेंगे, इफ़ यू स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट हिम एंड इफ़ यू स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ हिज लाइफ हैज़ inspired you, how your life has been transformed because of the daily miracles that Guruji does, and the way he communicates with us and makes sure that we feel empowered, enlightened, and so important in our own lives. You will yourself realize that this form of connecting with our Guru is a technique that has already been in practice, and Guruji in such a humble, loving way has made us as a part of his sangat. So that is why it is mentioned that naam japna chahiye. But the forceful procrastinations of the young man had slightly shaken my confidence. With all the fervor of my heart, I prayed silently to God. Please solve my bewilderment and answer me right here and right now, if thou dost desire me to lead the life of a renunciate or a worldly man. I noticed a sadhu of noble countenance standing just outside the compound of the Pandit's house. Okay. Evidently, he had overheard the spirited conversation between the self-styled clairvoyant and myself, for the stranger called me to his side. I felt a tremendous power flowing from his calm eyes. Son, don't listen to that ignomorous. In response to your prayer, the Lord tells me to assure you that your soul path in this life is that of the renunciate. With astonishment as well as gratitude, I smiled happily at his decisive message. Come away from that man. The ignoramus was calling me from the courtyard. My saintly guide advised his hand in blessing and slowly departed. That sadhu is just as crazy as you are. It was the hoary headed Pandit who made this charming observation. He and his son were gazing at me lugubriously. I heard that he too had left his home in a vague search for God. I turned away. To Ananta I remarked that I would not engage in further discussion with our hosts. My brother agreed to an immediate departure. We soon entrained for Calcutta. Mr. Detective, how did you discover that I had fled with two companions? I vented my lively curiosity to Ananta during our homeward journey. I smiled mischievously. So, in this page, there is a very beautiful picture of Yogananda ji along with his elder brother Ananta. And of course, this is the time when Yogananda ji was, pretty young. And here on the right side, there is a picture which is also showed that this is the last solistic festival celebrated by Sri Yukteswar, December 1935. My guru is seated at the center, and I am at his right at the large courtyard of his hermitage in Serampore. So there will be a lot of references as we go into reading this book about Serampore, where Sri Yukteswar was present, and there will be enough reading that will be coming in the future days. At your school, I found that Amar had left his classroom and had not returned. I went to his home the next morning, and unearthed a marked timetable. Amar's father was just leaving by carriage and was talking to the coachman. My son will not ride with me to his school this morning. He has disappeared. The father moaned. I heard from a brother coachman that your son and two others dressed in European suits boarded the train at Howrah station. The man stated they made a present of their leather shoes to the cab driver. Thus, I had three clues: the timetable, the trio of boys, and the English closing. I was listening to Ananta's disclosures with mingled mirth and vexation. Our generosity to the coachman had been slightly misplaced. Of course, I rushed to send telegrams to station officials in all the cities in which Amar had underlined in the timetable. He had checked Bareilly, so I wired your friend Dwarka there. After inquiries in our uh, Calcutta neighborhood, I learned that cousin Jatinda had been absent one night but had arrived home the following morning in European garb. I sought him out and invited him to dinner. He accepted, quite disarmed by my friendly manner. On the way, I led him unsuspectingly to a police station. He was surrounded by several police officers whom I had previously selected for their ferocious appearance. Under their formidable gaze, Jatinda agreed to account for his mysterious conduct. I started for the Himalaya in a buoyant spiritual mood, he explained. Inspiration filled me at the prospect of meeting the masters, but as soon as Mukunda said, daring our ecstasies in the Himalayan caves, tigers will be spellbound and sit around like tame pussies. My spirits froze, beads of perspiration formed on my brow. What then? I thought. If the vicious nature of the tigers be not changed through the power of our spiritual trance, shall they treat us with the kindness of house cats? In my mind's eye, I already saw myself the compulsory inmate of some tiger's stomach, entering there not at once but with the whole body, but by installments of its several parts. My anger at Jatinda's vanishment was evaporated in laughter. The hilarious sequel on the train was worth all the anguish he had caused me. I must confess to a slight feeling of satisfaction. Jatinda had not escaped an encounter with the police. Ananda, you are a born sleuth hound. My glance of amusement was not without some exasperation. As I shall tell Jatinda, I am glad he was prompted by no mood of treachery, as it appeared, but only by the prudent instinct of self preservation. At home in Calcutta, father touchingly requested me to curb my roving feet until at least the completion of my high school studies. In my absence, he had lovingly hatched a plot for arranging for a saintly Pandit his name is Swami Kevalananda, to come regularly to the house. The sage will be your Sanskrit tutor, my parent announced confidently. Father hoped to satisfy my religious yearnings by instructions from a learned philosopher, but the tables were subtly turned. My new teacher, far from offering intellectual aridities, fanned the embers of my God aspiration. Unknown to father, Swami Kevalananda was an exalted disciple of Lahiri Mahasaya. The peerless Guru had possessed thousands of disciples, silently drawn to him by the irresistibility of his divine magnetism. I learned later that Lahiri Mahasaya had often characterized Kevalananda as Rishi or illuminated sage. Luxuriant curls framed my tutor's handsome face. His dark eyes were guileless with the transparency of a child's. All the movements of his slight body were marked by the restful deliberation. Ever gentle and loving, he was firmly established in the finite consciousness. Many of our happy hours together were spent in deep Kriya meditation. Kevalananda was a noted authority on the ancient Shastras or sacred books. His erudition had earned him the title of Shastri Mahashaya, okay, by which he was usually addressed. But my progress in Sanskrit scholarships was unnoteworthy. I sought every opportunity to forsake prosaic grammar and to and to talk of yoga and Lahiri Mahashaya. My tutor obliged me one day of telling me something of his own life with the master. Really fortunate, I was able to remain near Lahiri Mahashaya for 10 years. His Benares home was a nightly goal of pilgrimage. The Guru was always present in a small front parlor on the first floor. As he sat in a lotus posture on the backless wooden seat, his disciples garlanded him in a semicircle. His eyes sparkled and danced with the joy of the divine. They were half ever closed, peering through the inner telescopic orb into the sphere of eternal bliss. He seldom spoke at length. Occasionally, his gaze would focus on a student in need of help. Healing words poured then like an avalanche of light. An indescribable peace blossomed within me at the master's glance. I was permeated with his fragrance as though from a lotus of infinity. To be with him, even without exchanging a word, for days uh, was experience which changed my entire being. Okay. If any invisible barrier rose in the path of my concentration, I would meditate at the Guru's feet. There were there that most tenuous states came easily within my grasp. Such perceptions eluded me in the presence of lesser teachers. The Master was a living temple of God whose secret doors were open to all disciples through devotion. Lahiri Mahasaya was no bookish interpreter of the scriptures. Effortlessly he dipped into the divine library. Foam of words and spray of thoughts gushed from the fountain of his omniscience. He had the wondrous clavis which unlocked the profound philosophical science embedded ages ago in the Vedas. If asked to explain the different planes of consciousness mentioned in the ancient text, he would smilingly assent. I will undergo those states and presently tell you what I perceive. He was thus diametrically unlike the teachers who commit scripture to memory and then give forth unrealized abstractions. Please expound the holy stanzas as the meaning occurs to you. The taciturn Guru often gave the instruction to a nearby disciple. I will guide your thoughts that the right interpretations be uttered. In this way, many of Lahiri Mahashaya's perceptions came to be recorded with voluminous commentaries by various students. The master never counselled slavish belief. Words are only shells, he said. Win conviction of God's presence through your own joyous contact in meditation. गुरुजी एग्जैक्टली यही चीज़ बोलते थे दैट सिमरन किया करो, बी विथ मी इन साइलेंस, बी विथ कनेक्ट विथ मी डायरेक्टली, एंड if you close your eyes, start connecting with me. If you take one step towards me, I will take 10 steps towards you. So I think this is the same thing that has happened here. The yogic key No matter what the disciples problem, the guru advised Kriya Yoga for its solution. The yogic key will not lose its efficiency when I am no longer present in the body to guide you. This technique cannot be bound, filed, and forgotten in the manner of theoretical inspirations. Continue ceaselessly on the path to liberation through Kriya, whose power lies in practice. I myself consider Kriya the most effective device of salvation, through self effort ever to be evolved in man's search for the infinite. Kevalananda concluded with his earnest testimony. Through its use, the omnipotent God, hidden in all men, became visibly incarnated in the flesh of Lahiri Mahasaya and a number of disciples. A Christ-like miracle by Lahiri Mahasaya took place in Kevalananda's presence. My saintly tutor recounted the story one day, his eyes remote from the Sanskrit text before us. A blind disciple, Ramu, aroused by my active pity, should he have no light in his eyes when he faithfully served our master, in whom the divine was fully blazing? One morning I sought to speak to Ramu, but he had sat for patient hours, fanning the Guru with a handmade palm leaf pankha. So it's a handmade fan which is used in certain parts of India, and it's a natural way of cooling, yourself when it is heated outside. When the devotee finally left the room, I followed him. Ramu, how long have you been blind? From my birth, sir. Never have my eyes been blessed with the glimpse of the sun. My omnipotent Guru can help. Please make a supplication. जिसको गुरुजी what we do generally in in गुरुजी संगत को अरदास बोलते हैं. Okay. The following day, Ramu diffidently approached Lahiri Mahasaya. The disciple felt almost ashamed to ask that physical wealth be added to his spiritual superabundance. Master, the illuminator of the cosmos is in you. I pray you to bring his light into my eyes, that I perceive the sun's lesser glow. Ramu, someone has connived to put me in a difficult position. I have no healing power. Sir, the infinite one within you can certainly heal. That is indeed different, Ramu. God's limit is nowhere. He who ignites the stars and the cells of flesh with mysterious effulgence can surely bring luster of vision into your eyes. The master touched Ramu's forehead at the point between the eyebrows. Keep your mind concentrated there and frequently chant the name of the Prophet Rama for 7 days. The splendor of the sun shall have its special dawn for you. Lo, in 1 week it was so. For the first time, Ramu beheld the fair face of nature. The omniscient one had unerringly directed his disciple to repeat the name of Rama, adored by him above all other saints. Ramu's faith was the devotionally ploughed soil in which Guru's powerful seed of permanent healing sprouted. Kevalananda was silent for a moment, then paid a further tribute to his Guru. It was evident in all miracles performed by Lahiri Mahasaya that he never allowed the ego principle to consider itself a causative force. By perfection of resistless surrender, the Master enabled the prime healing power to flow freely through him. The numerous bodies which were spectacularly healed through Lahiri Mahasaya eventually had to feed the flames of cremation, but the silent spiritual awakenings he effected, the Christ-like disciples he fashioned, are his imperishable miracles. I never became a Sanskrit scholar. Kevalananda taught me a diviner syntax. So with this it ends the chapter number 4, which is basically my uninterrupted flight towards Himalayas. So as you can see here that the Guru knows how exactly we are supposed to get his blessings, and all we need to do is to keep our ego aside. जैसे गुरुजी always says to us that अपनी जुत्ती और अपनी ego बाहर रख के आओ, and then you come to the satsang to get my full blessings. So in this last example where we saw that Ramu, who was already having a lot of divinity inside him, and he had no ego inside him, and he made a small ardas to Lahiri Mahasaya, and then he obliged it by saying that, continue continue the naam, and continue having the, a jap with yourself, within yourself, and you will see within 7 days. So these are all the reasons why Guruji always made sure that, he also was, of the opinion that, the more you love me, the more you connect with me, the more you take, naam japa karo, the more you read about me, you talked about the miracles that have happened, and then you become humble and simpler. As you can see, whenever you look at any Swarup of Guruji, he is so humble and so charming and so lovable. He makes sure that he loves his Sangat all throughout. All he wants of us is divine love. So I'd like to pause my reading here at the end of chapter 4, and see you on the next reading. And I hope you have a great reading on your own reading time as well. And Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji. We'll end this reading by Guruji's mantra jap. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Savar Sahai. Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai. Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji.